everyone, and welcome back to episode 4 of Flag Focus. We are here today. We are in the middle of the action. Behind us, we literally have the battle of the Europeans just over here. We've got France and Italy men's on field 2. To our left, well, now I've turned around to my left anyway. It is left.
Well done.
We have Switzerland men versus Mexico. Again, such an amazing day full of great competition from all teams, from all continents. It's been absolutely incredible to be a part of. The fans are incredible. We've got the mist fan going over there because it's that level of hot. We're here in the raging sun. And of course, I am here joined by the one and only offensive coordinator, coolest sunglasses wearer you'll ever see, Kenny Bello.
Good to be here.
And the one and only Mike Riemel, our resident analytics expert. How are you doing, guys? How has today been for you? What an experience.
It's really good. I think I have to give a big shout out to the Düsseldorf, the local organizing committee again. Really created a festival atmosphere, music going, got the drums, vuvuzelas, and I think because of how they've organized it, people are really buying into that atmosphere. The fans have been wild. Got some more Spanish folk down there. They can't see me this time, but they're there. It's just cool. And the constant cheering, the constant noise. It's really a great atmosphere, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, it's awesome here. I mean, today we had the youth clinic on the far field, so we got some of the local youth out here to get to witness this. The fans are awesome, and we're dealing with the heat, but it could be worse.
Absolutely. At least we're getting a tan while doing what we love, right? Today has been a day full of crazy competition. You know, we were straight out the gate starting this morning with the men's USA versus American Samoa team, and what a game it was. What an upset. It has been posted that it was 14 years since the last time the USA men's team have been defeated. That was in
an official competition.
In an official competition.
Yes.
And I think that was the same time that the iPhone 5 came out. It was GTA 4 that we were all playing. I'm sure there's another few references. Maybe you can drop some of those in the comments. What was happening 14 years ago when the USA men's in an official capacity started their, undefeated streak. But, gents, what I really want to talk to you about is sort of the game itself. I think that game was down to attitude. I think that's what won the game ultimately. I felt that American Samoa came out with a point to prove. They're a full-strength team. They came out fighting from the beginning, and they knew what they wanted. They wanted that victory, and I was stood behind them when I was on the sideline, and the whole game, they never let their lead get them out of their playing. They were constantly saying, we still have to go and score. Go and do that again. You've still got to make sure you're defending. You've still got to make sure you're this. Constantly giving each other corrections. It wasn't even necessarily just the coaches who were leading that. It was the players doing so as well. And how do you think that was going to affect them mentally as players going into a game that obviously has such huge ramifications for how the rest of the competition is going to go?
I mean, first of all, you have to comment on the absolute dynasty that the USA men's program has been. And that's not to say one loss takes that away. It absolutely cannot. If we're talking about, I was in my 20s the last time they lost a proper game.
Wow.
Right? I know.
Wow.
But point being, I think from everything you've said, watching the game, it sounded like American Samoa just stayed in their bag, right? They knew what they were good at. They stayed in those things. They didn't do anything outside of that. But they also, it felt like they had ultimate confidence in themselves as a team.
Yeah, I mean, when you play as a team, you win as a team, and that showed at that tournament, or that game, sorry. They had each other's back the whole time. They never fought. They never blamed each other when something didn't go wrong or right. And they kept their heads up, and they played together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot to be said as well about game plan. I'm not really too sure, and maybe it's something like a point of interest that we go and speak to those coaches, but I felt like the Team USA had a very different game plan going into this. There are either some plays where you'll see they only had a center and a receiver lineup, and then everyone else was kind of stood in the backfield. Now, I know how flag works. You can have your little sideways pass, your little backwards passes, and maybe they were looking to do some kind of 3 QB motion, but they were all stood sort of almost in a DB stance, and they didn't look like they were part of the game at all. And part of me wonders whether maybe they took American Samoa too lightly going into that game.
I would be cautious with that kind of take on it, because the USA men's team, they have a very free, almost casual style, especially on the offense.
Yes.
Very casual style of playing that has served them well. So I think it's very early. They lost one game, and they lost it clearly. Like, it wasn't the final score doesn't seem to represent like it was a close game. But with it being so close, I think it's too soon to start questioning how they play and why they play this way. I think it's one for, and I'm going to call you out, it's one for the haters to be like, oh, look, we told you it didn't work.
Yes.
It's worked for 14 years. So
Yeah.
I know. It would be very interesting to see how they play their next game.
Yeah, I agree with Kenny there. I think they'll be fine. They're going to bounce back. They have a relaxed style of play in the States, and they have the athletes. So they're going to bounce back. They're going to watch the film. They're going to make correct the mistakes that they made, and you'll see them bounce back tomorrow. And I think you're going to see an exciting, fast-paced, high-scoring team that we're used to.
Yeah, and talking of pace, like, you know, when they picked up the pace towards the end of that game, they were really in their bag. There were moments where American Samoa couldn't keep up, and it was almost like they realized that they had to go back to almost their style of play, and their classic fast-paced, you know, anyone could be in the backfield style of play. But I feel maybe they just realised it a little bit too late. But like you say, I guess there's a lot of time in this competition to capitalise on that, learn from it, grow, and sort of continue with that moving forward, right? When the game started, it was very back and forth. There were a lot of really aggressive players, both on offense and defense, on both sides of the ball. I think there were some players who started out with a real sort of want for that ball, want for the catch. One of the players we were lucky to interview, number 99, Braylon Brown, he was definitely someone who was attacking in all areas of his game. He really wanted that ball. He was ball hungry for most of the first half, and that really paid off towards, you know, the end of that first half, and then going into the second when he became, you know, a real pivotal player. Him and sort of, I'd call them a duo, number 9, Jacour Pearson, wide receiver, also caught at least 2 of the touchdowns. Again, brilliant skill, really athletic, getting in the air, making sure he's finding those open spaces. I think a lot of their sort of misdirection plays towards the second half of the game really put the USA on their toes. They didn't really know where to go or where to follow, and there were a lot of them that, although contested, there were also a lot where they were just in complete open space, and it really was a joy to watch. In the second half, I felt that the US really had like a fire in their stomach. They came out and they played really fast, really quickly. And again, I think the game sort of turned on its head there, and American Samoa were very much on the back foot, and they didn't really know how to respond to that. And when they did start scoring, it was fantastic. It was back to real competitive ball, but I think maybe they just put their foot on the gas a little bit too late, because the score at the end was 38-32. So, you know, there's one score in it, and we all know from playing football for so many years, you know, everything can change at a moment, but it'll be really interesting to see how they sort of learn and grow from this game going forward. Final score, game ended 38 American Samoa and 32 to the USA. So the double act that I mentioned earlier on, Jacour Pearson, wide receiver number 9, and Braylon Brown, wide receiver number 99, we had the opportunity to speak to them after the game, and here's what they said. Gentlemen, congratulations on such a historic win. This now, of course, means that you're going to finish top of your group, which means the opportunities are endless going into the second half of this competition. Obviously, this is something completely historic in the sense that USA have unbeaten for the best part of 10 years or more, and you've come along, especially after Continentals last year, and you've shown the competition what American Samoa can do. So what does this mean for you two as players? Like,
I just want to thank God. I want to thank my family, and then I want to thank everybody that made this possible. I want to give a special shout out to American Samoa for all the support they put behind this team the past couple months, everything they invested in this, for this opportunity to happen. And we know the job's not finished. You know, we had the confidence to know we can beat USA, but at the end of the day, the job's not over. So we just look forward to beating Israel and see what's next.
Absolutely. And at what point did you both start believing that American Samoa was something special and that you guys could do this?
First off, I would like to thank God. I would like to thank my family back home. I want to thank Coach Nalu for blessing us with this opportunity. I want to thank Bricks, Coach O, Hellstar Sports. I want to thank Liz, everybody just giving us this opportunity, investing in us and believing in us when nobody else could. But I believed in American Samoa. I believed in this team. I believed in this coaching staff since day one. When we first got the call that we were putting together a team and that we had the chance to do something special. Coach Sterling, Coach Stu, they always believed in us, no matter a good practice or bad practice. They always coached us the right way. They never put us down. They never fussed at us. They always had belief in us no matter what we did, and that just kept us up as players. And as a whole team, we always believed in this opportunity. We believed when we flew here to Germany that we wouldn't lose a game, and we're starting off 2-0. We got more games to go, but it's just the beginning.
In terms of looking forward to the competition, do you think for now you guys are taking it one step at a time, or do you have your eyes firmly fixed on sort of the possibilities and where this could
I
lead?
mean, we definitely got to go one step at a time. Our next opponent is Israel. We want to finish pool play 3-0, so we have our best standing going into the playoff bracket.
Amazing, of course. Gentlemen, congratulations again so much. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Enjoy the win, get some rest, and we really look forward to seeing you play soon. Thank you so much. When I spoke to this double act, they were incredibly grateful for their opportunities and their coaching staff, and it was really nice to talk to players that really wanted to give thanks and really give back to their program. Talking of sort of like a development of a program and like how things have played out, I really want to talk about two games that we sort of put on a spotlight last night for the women's. One of them being the GB versus Austria women's game that took place this morning. 47 GB, 26 Austria. A real dominant performance considering they were 1-1 based on the sort of last two times
history of it.
meet each other. Yeah, and I just thought the GB women came out with a force, with a real sort of spark. Especially considering their game with China yesterday was so close. It was really nice to see them just come back out and dominate.
Absolutely, I think it was the score and the gap in the scores was so surprising. But when we look at how the Austria-France game finished, and the fact that Austria actually maybe didn't expect to win that game, because it would have been interesting if Austria had lost that game to France and then lost again this morning, we'd be looking at a different pair going through to the quarterfinals. It's one of two things for me. I on the one hand, I look at, is it the heat, is it the environment, is it what's affecting the Austrian and the way they play? Because I think it's fair to say I wouldn't have expected them to be in such a close game with France, and I wouldn't expect such a big gap between them, considering they lost the European Championships in overtime in overtime. The other part of all of this is it's really interesting to see GB really dominate again and separate themselves from the field, really make a statement. But I don't know. I think the Austria-France game yesterday, it made me think something like this would happen this morning. I don't know if that's the same.
Yeah, I think GB got their sleep because they came out, they were ready to play. Their offense was unstoppable. Coach Jack Reed put together really good offensive scheme, and then the defense stepped up when they needed to. They let up some points, but they bent and didn't break for the rest of the game. So, I mean, with their offense scoring like that, it makes the defense play a lot easier and make them want to play better, because they don't have to worry about making all the stops, knowing that their offense is going to score.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And a team that I think in the latter half of their game struggled with that today was the other game that we put a spotlight on, which was Japan versus Canada women's. Now that was essentially for the top of their bracket, so it was a very competitive game. It was back and forth, but Canada just edged the win towards the end, 34 to Canada and 20 to Japan. And I think that's where we saw possibly a breakdown in scheme, because Japan, where they'd been so dominant throughout the game, they knew that on this final turnover that they got from Canada, they had to score. They didn't have an option because Canada were ahead by two scores at this point. And they couldn't find a way to get that ball into the right people's hands. As an OC, how would you ensure that was the case? If you knew it was crunch time and you were down to the wire, how would you ensure that you were going to get those guaranteed points?
I think sometimes as a coach, it happens where you just run out of ideas. Not for me, but for other coaches. Sometimes you just get
wondering how long until we got that disclaimer. Yeah.
No, on a very serious note, sometimes you get to a place where there are no more plays, there are no more wrinkles, and you just hit a bit of a wall in terms of creativity or productivity as it goes through. And again, it sounds like it's hard to say what exactly happened. I think Canada found a way to grind their wins, get their wins out, so they're 3-0 in their league. If Japan had won, it would have been a very interesting three-way tie potentially, and would have gone down to points, but that was not the case. And, we look forward to some exciting quarterfinals tomorrow.
Yeah, I think Japan had some unnormal drops. They couldn't seem to get a rhythm when they needed to. There was drops which they normally don't have, which I think was hard for the offense to just get that rhythm and really execute at the end of the day.
Yeah, and then talking of execution, because I thought it'd be a good segue. A game that we didn't mention yesterday that actually was probably one of the most competitive games.
Trying to steer clear of it.
We won't be steering clear of it, Kenny. Was the USA-Spain women's game today. Now, at halftime, I thought Spain had it. It was a really, really impressive show between the amazing crowd that both teams had. They were battling each other on the stands as well as you guys battling each other on the field. It was absolutely incredible. You know, as an OC, there were moments where I felt that your scheme was adapting like really, really quickly. You know, let's go for the short pass, let's go for the safe passes, especially as we got sort of closer to that 2-minute warning. What was going through your head as an OC at that moment where you thought, actually, this is it, like we could really beat Team USA? That would be 2 in a day where, you know, I'd be the second coach today to potentially beat this team. No,
our mentality is very different, actually. We don't, the thought was never, let's beat Team USA, let's make it their second loss of it, which was, you know, a narrative that we had heard coming into the game. For us, our focus is actually more next play. Focus on the next play. What's the down distance? What's the situation? And execute. And then you do that again and again and again. And hopefully, come the final whistle, the scores have gone your way. Unfortunately, today it didn't. But super proud of the girls. And all credit to Team USA. And honestly, the young quarterback, Ikemi Higa, like, what a player. I've been on the sideline and watching her play. It's one thing to see her play on the film, on the TV. It's another thing. She absolutely bossed it. For someone so young to lead an offense like that for the USA, amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and I think that team as a whole is really growing in terms of like finding their rhythm, finding the relationships that they have, you know, with each other. You know, how important would you say that is to a team, like especially knowing that not only is this team quite young, but a lot of these players are either being switched into positions. So I know Kendra Meredith, she's a DB, wasn't a DB originally when she started. She was actually a wide receiver and has been moved over. Like, how important would you say that cohesion is sort of going into these bigger games?
Yeah, I mean, USA has proven that they're playing together as a team, and they're deep. They have 12 players that can play. They're not just one-dimensional, I only played offense or I only played defense. One of their lead DBs went down, and Izzy stepped up on defense, and you really couldn't tell anything happened or there was a change because she stepped up, next person up, and they played. And then USA just shows how dominant that offense is. I've been watching the quarterback since she's been in youth. She's played in multiple events that I've hosted, and I mean, she acted like she was a veteran out there. She was cool, calm, and collective. You never once saw her sweat at all. And bad throw, miss throw, drop pass, it didn't matter. She was cool, calm, and collective, and the receivers really gave her positions to throw it. They got open, and she just threw the ball where she needed to, so they helped her out too. But it looks like a veteran team, even though they have a lot of newbies coming out. So
It does. And eventually the USA Women's came away with a 52-31 victory over Team Spain. And we caught up with our double act, Kendra Meredith, number 22, a DB, and Isabella Geraci, number 23, who's a DB and wide receiver. Okay, so I am here with Kendra Meredith, number 22, DB, and her double act duo, Isabella Geraci, number 23, who is also a DB and a wide receiver, after a 52-31 victory against Team Spain in the group stage. Kendra, I'm going to come straight to you directly because less than 30 seconds to go, you come up with that pick six. Take me through what you saw on that play. Like, how did you know that ball was yours and that you were just going to get it?
Yeah, so every play I usually visualize before what's going to happen. I said, I got to do this for my team, my sisters. You know, Linnea, you know, she went down. We saw that earlier in the game, and I knew that I had to have her back. So that's kind of what was going on through my head.
You spoke about process and sort of like getting prepared. Obviously, the US have auto qualification into the Olympics because you are the host nation. But of course, you've come here wanting to make a statement. What does your process look like that might differ from a team that's maybe competing for that qualification as well? What does the process look like for you instead?
I think for us, we hold ourselves to a gold standard no matter what. Even though we do have that bid automatically into the Olympics, we still want to come out of here the number 1 seed and win gold. So we have that same standard of just playing our hearts out every single game. And like Kendra said, Linnea went down, so now we kind of have more of a reason to go out there and really work.
And you said that you had a teammate go down and it gave the opportunity for other players to step up. And the level of competition here has certainly done that. And you're part of a team that historically has such amazing players and such amazing predecessors. When you step on that field, do you feel the pressure of the other team sort of catching up to you in terms of standard? Or do you still feel like America is definitely leading the charge in that?
I think every team has its, you know, they're good. They're a good team. We gotta fight. We gotta play our best football. And you know, we just gotta take it one game at a time.
Yeah, and I think going off of that, we're kind of focused on ourselves, like being our best selves. Obviously, we're scouting other teams and everything, but our main focus is how can we be better at doing our jobs. So we're really just focused on ourselves first, and then whoever we play against, we play against.
Talking of whoever you play against, obviously I know you are definitely a team that give the impression that you take one game at a time, and you really are trying to compete in every single game, and no game is left to chance. But the big elephant in the room is the fact that Mexico is likely your biggest competitor here, and although you have other teams in the way, like that is sort of the pinnacle of what you're aiming for. Like, what's your approach to make sure that each step you take now is in preparation for that gold medal game?
Yeah, I mean, taking it one game at a time. We can't skip games. Everybody's in our way at this point. So we just have to try to take it game by game, get better, watch film, educate ourselves, and come out and be ready to go, no matter who we play.
Yeah, enough said.
Amazing. Thank you so much for catching up with us, ladies. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Awesome, thank you.
So when I spoke to them, what really came across is the fact that even though they're guaranteed qualification at the end of this, they were very much, looking forward to how they could build and how they could make this program, work for them, essentially, because they are a very, very young team and, building towards that next generation of football, which I think is incredibly important.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to basically, because they've got with no disrespect, a ticket through to the Olympics. You use this time to build, and it will be the same for the two other nations who also qualify from this competition, because now you can you don't have to win the place anymore. You can just prepare for the actual competition. So I think it's a very good thing to see how they've come together. I think they've changed, just from a coaching standpoint. It was interesting to see they've changed the style of the way they play a little, and it will be interesting to see how that continues to grow over the next couple of years till LA 2028.
Now, there's something that we definitely wanted to speak to you about, because we know that you are, of course, from Philly, so there is only one team that you would, of course, support that must be in Philly.
Steelers. No, sorry.
If you know, then you know. We wanted to talk to you about a play that we saw over the course of the tournament so far, and I think we've seen it before previously. Kenny, what play do we want to, have a little conversation about?
So it's actually going to be two plays. Okay, there were two plays from yesterday. The first is the play from Austria, the Austria women's team, where they all bunch up and toss the ball, and then it's reached over them. Just talk us through it. Is it allowed? Is it legal? There were a lot of questions about it.
So I think this is the flag tush push. So shout out to Jalen Hurts. I know that you're watching and you're supporting and you're all for this new version of the tush push. What they do is they have the offense go out, take a couple steps, and then stop as soon as the ball's thrown to a receiver that's behind them, essentially creating a wall where the receiver can then reach over the top of the head of their own players and advance the ball. Since it's where the ball is, not where your flag is, when the flag is pulled, they're able to get that easy 1 yard of cheat yard is what I would call it, because it's an easy yard because you're reaching over. The defense has to go around the wall, and it's not illegal because they're not moving downfield once the ball's crossed the line of scrimmage. So
bring back Nine's partial contact. Am I right?
No partial contact, and I think that's why it was such a big talking point amongst all the players and the officials as well, because flag is not 5-on-5 flag is a non-contact sport. So if you're allowed to build a wall, is this a play that cannot be stopped? It's a very interesting question. And then speaking of another play that wasn't stopped, I don't know if it couldn't be stopped, is the big bat play from the Australia men's team. Can you talk us through that and why that's legal, why that's okay?
Yeah, so it's legal because the IFAF rulebook allows it. So, but what you do is you have a receiver shy of the end zone and you throw it to them, throw a little higher ball, and all you got to do is bat it up to the player in the back of the end zone. What this creates is the defense sees the ball throwing and you're taught to act on the ball. So if I see the ball throwing a little bit short, we're coming up to it. And then you have the receiver just sitting in the back of the end zone, just chilling all by themselves. So when the ball gets batted up, it's an easy touchdown.
Which is a crazy thing to do because they had literally 1 second on the clock. Like, I think as a play, if that is performed perfectly, which it was, what an amazing way to finish the half. If that didn't go well, could you imagine how different the momentum would have been in that moment?
But I think ultimately it's the Hail Mary of Hail Marys, because it's like, it's such a long, they were in their own half when the ball was thrown,
Yeah.
So It's the Hail Mary and then it's batted. But that's what makes it such an exciting part of the game. And personally, I absolutely love it. Let's have more bats.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the
say it
volleyball
again.
team needs to look out because that was a perfectly placed volleyball hit.
So that brings an end to what has been a fantastic day, such a competitive and amazing group stage. Of course, we now look ahead and we move on to the quarters, the semis, and eventually the championship final. This weekend is going to be full of so much action. But in order for that action to be even better, we need you to engage with this video. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, go back, watch episode 3, 2, 1 if you don't know what's been happening. Or even better, get yourself out here, get a ticket and come and watch the championship. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us again. And from me and from my gorgeous panel, we'll see you tomorrow.